Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make this dress. So guys, this miniature version that I just drew is a basic bodice, right? You see your shoulder divided by two, shoulder slope. This is the back panel. So why I just drew this is in case I wanted to tell you guys that if you want, you can make your back panel just one straight piece like this. But if you want, you can just go ahead for the back panel. I would advise for the back panel, trace out your basic back panel first, and then you can cut it in between here at the waist, or you can leave it the way it is. But if you cut it at the waist here, I like to join the upper part and the lower part together, because I feel like it gives you more fitting than when you just leave it as one straight part. And the reason why I would also advise you to cut it is that way you can be able to use this skirt part, because we really need this skirt parts here to be able to trace the front. You understand? So we'll need this we'll need this tracing for the front pattern. So now remember, you have to have half an inch at this center part, half an inch at this center part on your fabric. That way you can be able to join the two together. But if you don't feel like using this method, then you can just follow everything I do in the video, because I'll be doing mine from the scratch. So guys, this is my back panel. So I've started the cutting it on the main fabric. So you're going to have to start with the back panel. This is how I'm making my own. So if you want, like I said, you can trace it, the back and the bottom part together. So that means you're going to cut your shoulder to where you want the length of the dress to be. But I'm going to cut my top, cut my skirt, and then join the two together. That's how I'm going to be doing this. This is folded like this. So I've marked half an inch at the top here, half an inch at the bottom here. The next, this, and then what I have here is my shoulder to waist, which is 17.5 plus 1, which is 18.5. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to come down here and mark my chest line. So your chest line is around your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So whatever that is how you're going to get the length here. But before that, I'm first going to go ahead and mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is going to be 8. After that, I'm going to come down here, mark 1 inch of shoulder slope. And then after that, I'm going to insert what my armhole is supposed to be down here. So for me, that should be somewhere at 9, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and connect it together. So make sure I bring down that 8 also, and then connect it together in a straight line, just like. So I'm going to be doing 3 inches here. So go ahead and mark that here, and then I'm going to connect the shoulder slope together. And then after that, I'm going to also go ahead and give it half an inch at the top of it. So guys, after that, I came down from this point to here 1 inch, and then the next thing is just my bust divided by 4. So whatever that is for you, go ahead and mark it, and then 1 inch of sewing allowance. I came down to the hip, waist divided by 4, mark that, and then extra 2 inches, because 1 inch of that and 1 inch of seam allowance, mark it here. And then now I'm going to connect from here to this point. So guys, after that, I went ahead and added my dart. So just 1 inch dart here, all the way from this point here. So first is nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch. I got the center mark, and then I marked half an inch here, all the way to my chest line. So this is the back dart. After that, the next thing you're going to do is just to come up here by 1 inch. So I'm going to come up at the center back by 1 inch. This is because the back is shorter than the front, right? So you don't want the fabric to bulk up. So I marked 1 inch here, and then I'm going to connect it all the way to the end here. And then I'm also going to rule in my seam allowance. So guys, I've ruled in my seam allowance. So now all I have to do is to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to cut from this point out, the shoulder, the armhole, and then out. So guys, now I'm going to go ahead. I've cut out everything. I'm going to go ahead to cut the skirt. So it's just a basic skirt pattern, and I'm not going to make it pencil. It's going to be straight. So guys, the next thing I did was to calculate my skirt length. So first of all, I want my dress to be 42 inches when I'm done. So what I did was 42 minus my shoulder to waist, which is this 17.5 is my shoulder to waist. If I subtract it from this, it's about 24.5. So what I did was to add 1.5 to it. That will give me 46. So the length I have here from here to here is 46 inches. You understand? So then after that, the fold on top, you see that there's one folded into two, which is my back panel, and there's one that is just one piece, which is one side of the front of the dress, but I'm cutting everything once. So this is my back panel, the one with the fold, and then there's one single piece here. This one single piece is extended by 4 inches, which is basically my nipple to nipple, the length of my nipple to nipple divided by 2. You understand? So that's why I have this here, because it's a wrap dress, right? The part that will be going inside of the other one. So then after that, the next thing I did is the width of this upper one is just my hip divided by 4, which is 12, plus 1 inch, that is 13. So if you look at it now, you see this is 13 inches. After that, I just drew in my basic pattern, my basic skirt pattern, which is shoulder to waist at 10. After that, I insert my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches. Marked it here, you see, plus 2 inches, which is this much here. And then after that, I marked my hip divided by 4 plus 1 inch here. And then I connected it to the waist. After that, I insert my dart again, nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch. And then I marked it here, came down 2 inches before my hip line is the length of my dart. So that's basically this dart. I'm going to be transferring it to all the 4 layers of this, sorry, all the 3 layers, the 2 sides of the back and the 1 side of the front. You understand? So now that is done, the next thing I'm going to do now is this pattern, this front pattern. Now you see I didn't cut out anything at this point here, because this is a straight skirt, it's not pencil. Because normally if we're doing pencil now, I would have gone in here by maybe 1 inch and then connected it like this to give it that pens, but this is not pens, this is straight. So then after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the center of my skirt, which is here, right? So now I know that this is the center of my skirt here, and this is the extra 4 inches I added that will be crossing over. Everything from after this line here is crossing over. That's the extra 4 inches, right? Because if you put it here, you see that this is the center back of the back panel. So now what I'm going to do is from this point here, now I can do subtract another 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple again. I can use that as my as the number. So it depends on you how far you want to go in. So I think I'll just do the same 4 inches again. So that same nipple to nipple distance again, I'm going to take it away from here. If you want, you can do more if I feel like. So guys, I need to correct something. So you see the initial one that I cut here, if you see here, you see that I even had to remove the fold from it, right? This is because when I tested the dress, I noticed that this overlap one, I might have cut it way too much, and when I put it on, the slit was open, you understand? So when I walk, it's going to split open. So I had to go back in and use the remaining fabric I have to cut it. So let me give you the correction. So you remember initially what I said in the previous clip was that you're going to do 4 inches extra, right? So what I'm going to do now is, instead of that extra 4, remember this is our skirt pattern all the way down here. You see I've cut out the waist already on the other one now. So instead of this is where the skirt pattern, our hip divided by 4 plus 1 inch is supposed to stop here, and then the extra 4 inch to overlap. So instead of, remember what I said was to go in extra 4 inches. No, what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to cut it from this particular 4 inch, which makes sense, because now the other one, the pleated one will go in, and then this one is just going to overlap a little, you understand? So this, I need this much cloth here, so for extra coverage. So all I have to do now is just to go from this point here, and connect it all the way to this point here. If you see, with the point that I marked as X. So from this point of my waist, extra 4 inches, all the way to this point, right? But if you want, and don't forget, you're still supposed to remove that 1 inch of darting, because there's no darting here. So you're supposed to go in a little by 1 inch. So if I go in by 1 inch, which is going to now be this point here, so I'm going to take this mark here and go down all the way to this point. If you're a smaller person and you don't mind a little bit of slit, maybe you can go in like 1 inch behind on this one, just so that your curve is more prominent. But I'm okay with this because I'm not on the smaller side, and I need every coverage I can get from this, so that not when you're sitting down it's going to be splitting open, you understand? So now all I have to do is just to go from here now and connect it all the way to this point. So guys, if you want, you can still give yours a curve here. I just used a straight ruler to connect it straight because I didn't want to give it any curve anymore. But if you want still at this point, you can just go back in now and still give it a curve. Use your curve ruler and curve it all the way to this point here, just as long as you're sticking to this 4 inch. But I just want mine to cover a lot more, you understand? So now let me just go ahead and cut this part all the way to this point and then down, and then the side of my skirt still remains the same. The only layer that is not here now is our Akara part that will make the plate with. But I'm still going to use it. I'm still going to use this skirt part here. I'm still going to use this one here to trace it. But in the meantime, let's just cut this first one. So after cutting this part here, so guys, this is what I have here. You know how the length of Akara fabric comes, right? Like how it comes as 46. That is what I cut here. You know, see the end here. You know, see this end here, and then this other end here. You know how Akara is cut 46 by length, right? That is what I just cut out. So that's what I'm going to use to make my pleat. This is the color I want to match with it. But the next thing I did is that the length of my skirt, which is 26, is what I have here as the width of this here. And then this is the part of the skirt that is supposed to overlap. If you remember, this is the one that we cut that is slant. So what you're supposed to do is that you're going to use the waist of your skirt again to cut out the side, right? So now this piece here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. That's the shape of your hip, right? So go ahead and cut that part off. And then I'm also the part that is supposed to have the dart, I'm not going to bother with it. No need for that. I'm just going to let it be. So now the whole length of the Akara now, all I have to do is just to go from one side like this. Now you see what I have here, from this point here all the way to the other end. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to skip at least 1.5 from this end here, and then after that 1.5 I'm going to go ahead and start pleating 1 inch all the way from here. After this one, like pleat 1 inch like this, and then I'm going to pick up the next one like this and mark it. So if you don't know how to do it, one thing you can do is just take your tape like this. After skipping about 1.5 at the end here, go ahead and mark. If you want, you can do 1.5, because now looking at it, I feel like 1 inch is too small. So you might want to do 1.5, that would be better. So after skipping about this much here, like 2 inches at the beginning of the skirt, I'm going to just start marking 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, just like that, right? Then what I'm going to do is, after marking it now, the first 1.5, I'm going to place it on top of this next line here, right? Then pick up the next one, place it on top of the next line here. You understand? Pick up the next one, place it on top of the next line. Just like that, I've formed my pleat. If you feel like 1.5 is too much, do 1 inch. I'm going to check out the one that is better. Then after pleating it, I'll come back and let you guys know the one I decided to go with. If you feel like you can't do it, another thing you can do is that when you pleat it here, also go to the bottom part and also fold it. So like if you mark 1 inch at the top here, also go to the bottom part, mark 1 inch. That way, if you pleat it at the top here, you also pleat it at the bottom. That way you can get a straight line. You understand? So not if you're pleating here at the bottom, you're pleating this point. It will not look nice. So just to get everything straight, mark your points at this upper part, mark your points at the lower part here, and then as you pleat here, you also pin down here and iron. So I'm going to pleat it all the way to the end. I might not use the whole thing, right? But because I can't determine how much I would need for the skirt at the moment, I'll just pleat as much as I think I would need. And then once after pleating it, I'll then measure like 4 inches. Like I'll measure one side of the skirt and then 4 inches for the wrapping part of it, like extra 4 inches. You understand how we did the last one, that we had your main skirt bodice, and then extra extra 4 inches extended. That's your nipple to nipple. So that's what I'm going to do. After pleating everything now, I'll come back in and measure my normal basic skirt, and then I'll add extra 4 inches. Everything left, I'm going to cut it off. So guys, you see what I did here is ready. I've ironed it. So what I did is that, so you're going to go ahead, once you finish pleating, make sure that you have your hip divided by 4 plus 1 inch, which is your basic skirt measurement, plus your seam allowance, right? Your hip divided by 4 plus your seam allowance, and then put your hand there and measure and make sure that the part that will overlap, which is like 4 inches or 4.5, depending on what you made room for, is still there. So for me it's XX, so I might go ahead and cut off some and then leave like 1 inch so that I can be able to use it to fold the end of this, like hem the end, like how you hem your seam. So now let me go ahead now and go over to the top part. So guys, now let's go over to the top parts, right? So this is basically a short neck, so it depends on you what you want to do. For me, I've already drawn in my basic bodice pattern, so you just have to go ahead and draw in your basic bodice pattern. You see, I have half an inch here to join the bottom. This is my dart that I stopped the dart at least 1 inch before my bust measurement. My shoulder measurement divided by 2 at 8 inches. My armhole, everything is done. And then my seam allowance of 1.5 or 1 inch, depending on you, 3 inches of neckline. After that, you notice that I have a lot of paper here. This one, you have to trace it on your paper, or you can do it on your fabric if you want to. It depends on you. So this here, I have about 6 inches here and 5 inches here, just in case if I need more. So now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I went ahead and ruled like my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, so that is 4, right? Or whatever you want to use, right? Mine is 4 for the wrap. And then the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and measure my back collar, right? So I'm going to go ahead and measure the back neckline. So guys, you will measure this neckline, but you will not add this seam allowance part. So just measure your basic neckline. So for me, that is going to be at least, it's going to be at 3.5 inch, almost 3.75. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here now, and then I'm going to mark 3.75 on this part here, right? And once I've marked it, so guys, you first determine where you want your collar to be. So I've gone ahead and checked in the video, so it's basically somewhere here, right? So what I'm going to do now is from this point here, I'm going to rule a line that will connect to this point. So you're going to rule from this point of the tip of my shoulder all the way to this point. So guys, once this is done now, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and take my ruler up and then extend this line. You remember what we did here? Whatever you measured from the back neckline without the seam allowance part, go ahead and measure that measurement from this top part of this here all the way to this point. So for me, it was 3.75. I went ahead and marked it. That's from the line of the beginning of this up. And then let me just go ahead and extend that line a little so that you guys can see it. So it looks something like this, right? This point here. And then after that, the next thing I did was to mark my waistline, and then I connected this point to this point. Once it's done, I'm going to, this my line again, I'm going to extend it up. This same, on the same angle that it is already, I'm going to extend it up. But I'm going to make sure that it's on the same line as the 3.75 at the point where I have this 3.75, you understand? So this extension that I've marked, I'll make sure that it's on the same line as the 3.75 that I've marked. That's the straight line, that's where it's going to stop. So let me just go and check again. So put my tape again and make sure that 3.75 is there, and then mark it again. So it's somewhere here. And then once that is done, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and measure halfway through this line, wherever that is, right? Halfway through this line. So wherever halfway through this line is, I'm going to go ahead and mark it. And then I'm going to go backwards from this point here by half an inch. And then I'm going to, that's from the top part here, go back half an inch from that point. And then you're going to connect this here to this point here. This will help your collar to relax better. And now I'm going to extend this part here all the way. So now the next thing you have to do is just to go ahead and measure the width you want your collar to be. So I want mine to be 3.5. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 3.5 all the way. Like from here now, I'll mark 3.5 also. And then maybe 3 inches down here, because I'm starting to narrow it down. And maybe here 2.5. And then maybe here just 2 inches or 1.5. You see, at this point here, I don't want anything here. I don't want it to be able to flip, because if you look at the one on the picture, at this point here, it wasn't flipping much, right? So all I have to do is just to go ahead and connect it like this, blend it in like this, blend in like from here, and then just like this. You see, if you notice now, I'm using my curved ruler because I'm trying to give it this curved shape here. And then at this highest point here, I might just go ahead and let me still use the curved part, maybe the part that is a little straight, just like that. So you see, just to give it more shape. So guys, once you've done this now, the next thing I'm going to do is at this point here, this outer point here, I'm going to just go up by 1.5 here on this line here. Just go up 1.5, connect it to that point, and then connect it to the back. So guys, once that is done, on that point now, I can connect it down to this end here. So connect it. Once you go up 1.5 from that line, you can then go ahead and connect it to the back here, just like this. So this is going to be my shawl collar, right? So this is what my shawl collar would look like. So now all I have to do is just to go ahead and add half an inch all the way around here. So guys, all I have to do now is to go ahead and trim this out. So I'm going to go ahead, you see I added half an inch at the end here all the way to the shoulder, and then I stopped, and then I have my seam allowance here, and then half an inch at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and then I'm going to trace it on a fabric that looks like this, 2 of it, 1 for each side. And then I'm going to come back and show you guys how we're going to trace out the one that is going to be overlapping it.